Welcome back. In this video, we're going to continue looking at the features and techniques of sentence structure. Now, we know already that there are loads of techniques in sentence structure. It's an umbrella term, and here are some of the techniques underneath the umbrella. We're going to focus on short sentences in this video. Now, this is a very common answer in the sentence structure question. Lots and lots of candidates use the short sentence as an answer, so it's useful to know it well, because it's often a good option to pick. So, you'll always start your answer with "the writer uses a short sentence," naming your technique, and that will get you your first mark. Now, let's have a look at what a short sentence is. This is actually trickier than it seems. If I ask you the question, how many words can a short sentence be? How long can it be? We kind of know that 3 words is a short sentence. 4, yeah, probably. What about 5 or 6, 7? When does it stop being a short sentence and become a normal length sentence? Well, the answer is it's more about a comparison. I'd say a rule of thumb is I wouldn't go much over 5 words for it to be a short sentence. So kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 words. But it's all about comparing. So let's look at this example. Here these tall trees represent normal length sentences. A short sentence will stand out like this. I've added in this smaller tree. The smaller tree stands out because it contrasts with the height. All those tall trees, one short tree, and no matter where you put it in a paragraph or in the forest, the short tree stands out. And it's the same in this picture. The small boy in the blue t-shirt at the bottom, he stands out because he contrasts in 2 ways. One, you get the blue against green, but also he contrasts with his height. He's very short compared to those very tall evergreen trees. And that's what a short sentence is. To check that you're right about the length, does it stand out? Are the sentences around it a different length? And if they are, the chances are it's a short sentence. So, by using a short sentence, the writer is saying, please pay attention to this point as it is an important part to my argument. It's that idea of shining a light. The short sentence is saying, hey, look down here. Look at this part of my argument. Okay, and remember that it's the writer. He or she is shining that light, telling you to look here. Now, as always, it's easier to look at some examples to show you how this works in practice. So let's look at a short passage. This passage is about climate change. Alarm bells are ringing as the scientists of the world once more warn us of the dangers of unchecked climate change. They are very clear about what will happen if the human race doesn't take action. We are doomed. However, the same scientists, by showing us that climate change can be slowed, offer us some hope. Now, we'll have a look at the question first and then we'll go back to the passage. The question will ask us about sentence structure. It won't ask us about short sentences, remember. So look at lines 1 to 8 and it tells us where to look. Explain how one example of the writer's use of sentence structure makes it clear that climate change is a big issue. So we have to keep that as our focus, that climate change is a big issue. Something that makes us see that climate change is a big issue. Now, in this passage, the eagle-eyed, sharp-eyed amongst you will have noticed that there are other techniques, not just short sentences. You might notice the parenthesis between the 2 dashes by showing us that climate change can be slowed. But we're going to look just for short sentences in this video. So have a look through the paragraph and see, do any of the sentences, maybe they don't, do any of them stand out as a short sentence? And there it is. I've just put it in bold. We are doomed. 3 words, nice, clear, short sentence. So how does that show that climate change is a big issue? Well, it's about that word doomed, isn't it? That word doomed, and the we is the human race. It's all of us, you, me, everybody else on the planet. So the short sentence is highlighting that. So I would write my answer like this. The writer uses a short sentence in line 5. Now I could quote the sentence either instead of writing in line 5, and that gets me 1 of the 2 marks straight away. Now, for the second part, I need to explain how that links to the question. So the short sentence is used in line 5 to emphasize that if we ignore global warming, people will cease to exist. That's the idea of being doomed, which is clearly a large problem. Why is it a problem? As we would be extinct. So I've explained the nature of the problem, and that would get me 2 marks. Okay, let's look at another example here, example 2. Currently, one of the best ways to slow the global rise in temperatures is to switch to renewable energy. That means using less coal, oil and gas to power the planet and more solar, wind and wave energy. Unfortunately, the biggest countries aren't listening and have a depressingly foolish solution of their own. More fossil fuels. We can't afford to make this mistake with our planet. Now, again, this is about climate change, global warming, that idea, and we'll go to the question. So different question, still on sentence structure though. Look at lines 1 to 9 and it tells us where to look. Explain how one example of the writer's use of sentence structure makes it clear that governments are not listening, for 2 marks. So it's this idea now. I have to focus on the end. The question is saying, right, some part of sentence structure that shows that governments are not listening. So I go back to the passage. Okay. And you might have noticed there's 2 lists in there. So you've got a list of less coal, oil and gas, and then you have another list of more solar, wind and wave energy. Now, that's sentence structure. A list is a technique in sentence structure, but I can't use it for my answer because it's got nothing to do with the question. The question is saying that governments aren't listening. So the list comes before that point in the writer's argument. So we're going to focus again on short sentences for this. Have a look and see if you can see one. There it is. 3 words again, more fossil fuels. So, as with all short sentence questions, we start in the same manner. The writer uses a short sentence in line 8 in this case, and I would quote it, more fossil fuels, seeing as it's so short, to emphasize that governments are continuing to use the same fuels as before, despite knowing that greener technologies could save the planet. So I try to use my own words as far as possible, and this shows that governments aren't listening because they're basically continuing with their same actions. And that would get me 2 points. 2 marks, sorry. Now, one thing to notice about that sentence we looked at, more fossil fuels, is it's not just a short sentence. It's a particular type of short sentence. And I want to show you this. Watch how it changed this now. The writer uses a minor sentence in line 8. Now, this is technically more correct. So it's still a short sentence, but it's a particular type of short sentence called a minor sentence. And the second half of the answer stays the same. So what's this difference between a short sentence and a minor sentence? Well, a minor sentence is one that is not grammatically complete. Now, before I go on, okay, don't worry about this too much. If this gets a little bit complicated, if you say short sentence, you'll be fine getting the marks. I'm thinking more towards when you're moving to higher next year. It's good to know the difference between the two. So I'm going to briefly explain it here. So a minor sentence is one that is not grammatically complete. What do I mean by that? Well, from National 5, that usually means that the verb has been left out of the sentence. And I'm going to show you some examples. Here are some ordinary sentences with the verbs left in. And you can see them in purple. I ate a sandwich. I can see you. She runs quickly. They walk to school every day. They're all grammatically correct sentences. Full stop at the end. They have a subject, an object, and a verb. And it's the verb that gets left out. Now watch these next sentences. The verbs get left out to make it a minor sentence. Happy birthday. There's no verb there. No problem. That might be an answer to something. Can you help me? Yeah, no problem. More coffee? A question? All of those are minor sentences because there's no verb in them. Here's some more examples. The more the merrier. Okay? If someone was asking to join your group to do something, you might welcome them by saying the more the merrier. No verb again. No pain, no gain. That's the idea of studying for close reading to get that A, or going to the gym to get fitter and stronger. Again, no pain, no gain, no verb. Better safe than sorry. Again, there's no verb. If there was a verb in that sentence, it would be it is better to be safe than sorry, and to be would be the verb as well. So a minor sentence has the verb removed. Okay, so sometimes you'll see short sentence, sometimes you'll see minor sentence, but if you're not sure, just call it a short sentence in your answer, and you'll get the marks so long as your analysis is correct. I just wanted to highlight that difference to you because I think it's interesting and worth looking at. Okay, so we saw the first sentence there, we are doomed. That was the short sentence because the verb there is are. That's from the verb to be. He is, you are, I am. That's the verb. In the second sentence, more fossil fuels, there was no verb. So it would need a verb to make it a proper short sentence. But again, you can just call it a short sentence. So, reminder to ourselves that the technique of a short sentence is there to highlight, to say, look at this particular part of the writer's argument, whatever point he or she is making. The formula for you to follow is identify the short sentence. So say the writer uses a short sentence, quote the sentence, or give the line number, or both, and then explain why the writer used a short sentence or a minor sentence in this instant. So it depends on what the question's asking you. Always make sure that your analysis is linked to what the question's asking you to do. And we remember, of course, that short sentence is one of many techniques in the umbrella term of sentence structure. And sentence structure is not a technique, so we never write the writer uses sentence structure. We do write, however, that the writer uses a short sentence. Now, hopefully that's helped you feel a lot more confident with the idea of how to answer a short sentence question in a sentence structure question. I'll see you in the next video.